Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much, first of all, for sparing out the time and coming here. Myself, Kriti Sachdeva. I am a team leader here in Accommodation Services at Casita. We are exclusive partners with Maven Consulting, and we are here to help you understand the basics of accommodation, especially when you're going abroad for the studies. So let's begin. I would request you to drop in your messages, the questions, any questions if you have throughout the presentation in the Dropbox. I will, at the end of the session, read it out and try and answer all of them for you. All right, so let's start. So, about Casita, we are an innovative UK-based, in fact, global student accommodation marketplace. We help the students find their desired student accommodation when traveling abroad for studies. We have more than 1 million plus rooms listed in almost 62 leading study destinations. We are a platform where you can find your required student accommodation according to the budget requirements, the room type you're looking for, and any other specific requirements according to your needs. We have our global offices in London, Valencia, Cairo, Hong Kong, etc. So through Casita, we help students find their student accommodation, usually known as PBSAs. A PBSA is a purposely built student accommodation. These are basically the buildings owned by the building owners, also called as providers, and these buildings are exclusively, kept for the students. Only a person having the status of a student can occupy these buildings. So we at Casita help the students find PBSAs according to their needs and requirements. Moving on to the next slide, this slide shows that we have the amount of room, the number of rooms that we have across the globe. We have almost around 1.5 plus million rooms in 60 plus countries, and we have almost around 1200 plus study abroad agents. Moving on to the next slide. So Casita, in what are the features that differs Casita from other people who are also offering the same services? We offer 24/7 support. Our accommodation experts, our A's called as A's, are available to help you with any kind of queries, questions that you have regarding any, properties, buildings, how to, get in, how to book that, or anything of that sort. So our services are available 24/7. Then the major point, the major, plus for a student is Casita being 100% free for them. So we do not charge anything from any student for providing our services. Next, moving on to safe rooms. So anything that is listed with us, or any partner, any provider, any building owners that are listed on our website or is associated with us are 100% verified and safe. So you don't have to worry that where you are kind of landing yourself in when you're traveling to abroad for the studies. We also have some, auxiliary services apart from providing accommodation that we offer. One of them, which is a rent a guarantor. So guarantor is somebody that you need to provide, and this is a mandate requirement in few properties for the installment payment structure that I will explain you ahead in the coming few slides. So we also provide that service. And we also have our auxiliary service of helping the students with student loans via our partners. Moving on to the next slide. Choosing the perfect accommodation. So what are the major pointers that a student should keep in mind while booking an accommodation? What are so there are a lot of factors that every student consider before they travel abroad and they look for the student accommodation. The major ones are listed here. One of them would be, and the biggest concern that students always have, is the budget. So everyone comes with different kind of budget in their minds about the accommodation, about how much they want to spend on an accommodation. So at Casita, we have variety of rooms. If we compare, starting from almost around 90 pounds per week, and that can go up to somewhere around 600 pounds, week. And that totally depends upon the room type that you're booking, the location you're booking it at, and the city you're booking it in. So we have a large variety to cater all type of student needs in terms of budget. Second would be location. Location would be another factor that plays a very important role before choosing a room. So there are few students who would just want to travel via, they just want to walk and reach their universities. So their traveling preferences in that case would be a walking distance accommodation. And there are few students who are okay to explore and use the public transport and reach to their respective universities from their accommodation. So location also plays a very huge role while deciding the kind of accommodation, the room you want to book. Then third would be room types. So there are various room types that are available with us via our providers across the globe. And to name a few, or to let you know the categorization, there are major rooms such as called ensuite rooms, in which you get a room for yourself, a washroom for yourself in an apartment of 5 to 6 rooms. Or there are times that you want to, there are times when you don't want to share anything. So in that case, you can opt for studio apartments wherein everything is private. You get your private room, you get your private washrooms, and you get your private kitchens also. So depending upon your requirements of maybe the privacy context, and if you keep privacy context in mind, or if you consider other factors, so in that way you can select the room type that you kind of want to go ahead with. And then another factor which the students usually keep in mind while looking for a perfect student accommodation would be the on-site facilities that these PBSAs kind of offer. So these PBSAs offer a lot of facilities such as common areas, gymming areas, cinema rooms, common study areas. So these four, what I've mentioned just now, would be the four factors that play a huge role in deciding what kind of student accommodation you would want to go for. Moving on to the next slide. So now a lot of students, come back to us saying, what is the difference in the on-campus accommodation that has been provided by our universities, and what would be the difference between the PBSAs or the off-campus accommodations that you guys are offering? So both of them are student accommodations. To clear this in the first place, only students can occupy it. The major differences that you can that differentiate an accommodation on campus and off campus would be the ones that I'm going to state you now. So on-site amenities, there are a lot of extra amenities that these PBSAs would offer you if you're going to take them as your choose them as your accommodation option. That will not be available if you're going to take the university accommodation. And second would be social events and networking. So when you opt for a student accommodation off campus, you get to live with the students of the other universities as well in the same city. When you are living in on campus accommodation, you would only be surrounded by the students and peers of your own universities. So once you start living in a PBSA, you get an opportunity to explore, to connect with the student of different backgrounds, different universities, doing different courses. So that's going to be a perk, and that's going to be a plus point when you see yourself as a, that will help you groom better. That will help you develop other things apart from studies in a better way. Third point, that is another a major point in terms of selecting or differentiating on-campus and off-campus accommodation, would be more independence. So once you start living in a PBSA, you won't have any such restrictions of coming back onto the uh, within a time limit, or going out within a time limit. You are free to move in and move out. You all have keys to your rooms, and you can anytime come in and come back. And So a lot of students who are traveling abroad for their studies prefer to go for part-time jobs. They like to use their time wisely. So in those cases, there'll be like no restrictions of coming back onto a certain time. So that's a perk of an off-campus accommodation as and when compared with on-campus accommodation. Privacy is again another point that differentiate an on-campus and an off-campus accommodation. You get your own private space. You don't get anybody, kind of maybe disturbing or getting into your personal space. So according to your requirements, you can choose a room type in which your privacy is maintained. Another would be different room types. So PBSs do have a lot of room types to offer, as in they have category of rooms like I just mentioned, ensuite room in which you can opt for a private room and a private washroom. In case you're okay to share the washroom with others, then there's another category called non-ensuite rooms. So you have a lot of variety, a lot of options to choose from, which is not the case in an on-campus accommodation. So these would be the major, differentiators of on-campus versus off-campus accommodation. Now, next we move on to a slide which tells us about the lease agreement. So lease agreement would be nothing but a legal document that you're supposed to sign before booking any accommodation or while booking any accommodation. It is as similar to any rental document, any legal document that you sign even if you're renting out anything here in India. So it is similar to that only. So this document usually contain all the details of the room that you're booking, at what property, at what price, and what would be the payment terms. And it will have all the regulation clauses that you should abide by when you opt for a student accommodation. It will mention the repercussions of not paying on time. It will mention the rules and regulations that you follow while you stay in a PBSA. So it would be a very extensive, huge document that would contain every single detail of how you should stay, where are you staying, at what room type you are staying, how much amount you are paying, for how long are you staying, etc., etc. So this is a very important document that the students are supposed to sign while making a booking at the accommodation PBSA.
This will also be required when you file for the visa.
Yeah.
If asked for the accommodation.
Yeah, so this would be a mandate document that you have to submit while applying for your visa. Thank you so much, Ashish, for adding. Okay, so another next slide would be do's and don'ts of PBSAs. So once you start living in a purpose-built student accommodation, which is also called as an off-campus student accommodation, there would be certain do's and don'ts. How do you behave? How do you stay there? What regulations you need to follow? So these are some very basic ones that I've listed here for you. So, like for example, if you're living in a shared apartment, you have to help your housemates with the daily chores. If you're sharing a washroom or kitchen, it's your duty to keep it neat and tidy. Just very basic do's that you should otherwise also do. And don'ts would be that if a place is not supposed to be is not meant for using for smoking, you should not use it. You should not have pets unless and until you have the permission to get them, etc., etc. So very basic do's and don'ts of staying in a PBSA. Moving on to the next slide. So this is cost implications. So now every property, either in UK, Europe, Australia, Canada, they come with a different set of regulations when it comes to payment, when it comes to cost implications. So there are certain times that a property would ask for a deposit to book a room. So a deposit would be nothing but a token money kind of a thing that you are supposed to pay while booking your room, and that is 100% refundable amount once your tenancy agreement at that PBSA gets over. For example, you're taking a room for a year and you have paid £100 deposit to block that room, to book that room. That £100 deposit will be refunded back to you once your stay of 1 year is over there. So this is one of the type of deposit that you have to pay while booking. Another type would be an advance rent. So similarly, similar to deposit, there's a term called advance rent that you are supposed to pay while making the booking, and that advance rent get adjusted in your entire terms payment. So for example, if you're taking a room for a year and it is costing you £5,000 in total, and you're paying a 250 pounds deposit, sorry, advance rent. So this advance rent will get adjusted in that 5,000 pounds. So what you are supposed to pay for your entire stay would be 5,000 minus 250. So these advance rent deposit depends upon property to property. So it's very specific. Certain property would want a deposit to block the room, and certain would want advance rent. Payment schedule. Now there are certain properties that would allow you to pay in installment, and there are certain properties that would want you to make an upfront payment before checking in the accommodation. That again depends from property to property. Sometimes it depends upon the city you're booking in, and there are various other factors that would make this payment schedule differ. There are certain properties that would want you to provide a guarantor in order for them to help you with the installment plan. So guarantor would be no one but a person who can act on your behalf in case you fail to make the payment in the future. So for example, you would want to make there's a property XYZ property, and they are helping you with the installment options, and they have a condition of providing the guarantor. So guarantor would be a person who will take your place. You'll just have to provide certain details of that person. There are certain conditions for a person to be eligible to be a guarantor. So once you know those conditions, you're going to provide the details of for that person who will act as your guarantor, and the guarantor will come into the picture in case you fail to make the future payments of the installment plan that you've opted for. I hope everything is clear, and I hope you guys are understanding what I'm trying to say. We will take up your questions once we are done with the PPT. Moving on to the next slide. So next would be safety consideration. A lot of students, who are traveling abroad for the first time for their studies, and in fact, not just the students, their parents, guardians, they're very, skeptical about what they are booking, where they are booking, because you're sitting all together in a different country, different time zone, different. There is a lot of geographical, boundaries that are separating us from that place we are going to go for studies. So there are a lot of questions that comes in students and guardians and parents mind, wherein they think whether we are booking a safe place or not. So as I mentioned earlier as well, all of our listed properties are 100% verified safe. They have the certifications of being called as PBSS. So in that context, you don't have to worry about anything. Also, these PBSAs comes with a lot of security within themselves. They have CCTV cameras installed. They have property managers. They have a floor managers. So you'll always have somebody to reach out to in case of any emergency or in case of any issues. So in that context, it is 100% safe and secure. Let's move on to the next slide. I think we're done with the presentation. So you guys can get in touch with us for any type of queries for any kind of accommodation in any part of the world, and we can help you with the options that are available with us according to your needs and requirements. Thank you
You
so
can
much.
take a screenshot of this page.
Yeah, you guys can take a screenshot. We are available on all the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and there's an email ID mentioned wherein you can drop your queries. There's a phone number also available, so you guys can take a screenshot, and we're looking forward to get in touch with you. I'm open for the questions, guys. You can really drop in your questions in the chat box, and I can help you answer all of them.
If anybody has any questions, you're requested to post your questions in the chat box so that Kriti can answer to those questions. Okay, Kriti, we have a questions which says, can we book such rooms for session based, like only in summers or winters?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There are few properties that so usual contracts that they offer would be either and for an academic year, which is 44 weeks, or for a calendar year, which is 51 weeks. But yes, there are few properties that offer short stays. They're called as short stays there, that are available for summers and winters or for semesters. So yes, we do have properties that depend upon the city that they're asking for, or the university, near which university they're asking for. But yes, the options are there.
Okay. Now, this is a question from my end in view of my applicants. So there will be there will be some applicants who will say that maybe I need an accommodation for 1 month or
Right.
2 months because I personally want to go there and then stay there for a month and then maybe look around and see what as an option is available for me. So, is that also possible?
So we do help students with PBSs as explained here in the PPTs, which are student accommodation. Usually, student accommodations they don't help in that short stays like a month or 15 days. But yes, we also have private let options available on our website. So private let would be just like any building by any individual landlord that is kind of on rental purposes, on in the market for the rental purposes. So in case the student is wanting to kind of personally go and visit and then book an accommodation, a student accommodation for that matter, for what we suggest in that case is that book a private let for a while, maybe for a month or 15 days, and then go there, have a look at the student accommodation and book it for the longer period.
Okay. Follow
Yeah.
up question on the previous question. They say if you're booking rooms, they say that will rents be higher for such rooms?
Yes, so comparatively, when you book for a shorter period, the rent is basically a little higher than the usual, contracts that they're offering. Obviously, for the obvious reason because they're lending out for a short stay. So yes, there would be a minute difference.
Okay. Now there's a question from the student who says, I saw that Nottingham 2 is one of the accommodations on Casita. The amenities are really good, but most of the reviews on Google complained about broken building block gates and bad maintenance.
So Soumya, I understand that as a as somebody who's traveling and who's not seen that place in person, and you're traveling all together to a new country, you would definitely want to do all your due diligence before going, and reviews are one of the major things that we kind of go for. But so every building has a lot of plus and minus, negative and positive, what do you call, reviews. You just have to make sure that you're looking at the latest reviews, because there are a lot of reviews that are very old, so students don't even usually see the kind of time at which they were posted, because there are times that there is a repair and maintenance going on in a building, or there are times there's some uh, addition or deletion going on in the building, as in they're adding rooms, or they're doing any kind of a change. So for that reason you might have read it, or the student who's posted the review would have stayed there for that particular point of time. So it's not like it won't stay forever, like you've written broken building blocks and etc. They always make sure that student have like the most pleasing and the best experience that they can offer when they stay there. So it's not the case. They keep on maintaining the building at a very good, nice level. So yes, I agree that you will find certain reviews like that, but it's not the case. They make sure that they maintain the premises, the area in the best way possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Uh, so now, if any of our students want an accommodation from Casita, so what we'll go ahead is we will make a WhatsApp group and we'll add you there as well.
Sure.
And Harshit will pass on the lead to you, and maybe
Right.
from your team somebody can connect with them and guide them on what options are available,
Right.
and then probably you all can talk to them on one as well.
Mhm.
Having said that, if there are any other questions from the participants, please type your questions on the chat window so that we can quickly take the questions and wrap up the session.
Guys, you can come up with any kind of question
Any
that you
sort of
have.
questions that you have, she would be more than happy to answer them.
Yes. No question is a, every question is welcome. You can ask anything that is coming into your mind, anything that I've talked about, anything that you have in mind regarding any specific question. Like I got a question for Nottingham, so if you have any kind of question, feel free to ask, please.
Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes. Let's see if any question pops up.
Yeah.
So, what's the average rent that we're looking at, Kriti, in London and outside London for a
So
shared accommodation?
for London, one has to have a budget of more than 250 GBP, 250 plus at the moment weekly.
That's only the rent.
Yes, that's so that includes everything. That's all bills inclusive. That is everything that you have to pay. Rest you don't
And
have
how
to.
many people share?
So depend. There are 5 bed apartments. There are 6 bed apartments. So this is something average. This is the least expensive, which is available at the moment.
Hmm.
So the the price keeps fluctuating a lot. So this is the current one. We also had options of 190 also maybe a month back. So as we kind of move closer to the intake and the availability reduces, the number of rooms reduces and the demand increases, the prices act accordingly.
Okay. We have a question from Tejashwini. She asks, is there any accommodation along with food facilities? I mean, meal plan.
Yeah. So in Australia, we do have a lot of accommodations that offer, food facilities, maybe lunch, 2 meals, 3 meals. In UK, I won't say like there are a lot of accommodation PBSs that are offering it, but yes, we have a few that offer free grab and go breakfast with them because usually that's the major concern of the students. They're running late for their morning lectures and they have to prepare the food and then go. So there are a few properties that offer grab and go breakfast facilities in their accommodations.
Okay. We have a question which the person is not able to post on the chat, but he has
Okay.
messaged me on WhatsApp. He says, can we see the room before accommodation? So can there be photo shared or a
Yes.
video tour of the room or something of that sort?
Absolutely, yes. You can have a lot of pictures of the room. You can have 3D tours. You can have virtual viewing also arranged. So there's a option of requesting a virtual viewing, and we can help the accommodation property building with your details, and they can get in touch with you via maybe WhatsApp calls or some meet like this, and they can
And
show you the room
and
around.
they connect with the landlords directly for this.
Right, right. So we
Okay.
can help arrange it, and then the building owners and the student will be connected
So
directly.
that there's absolutely transparency.
Right,
Okay.
absolutely.
We have a question from Vaishnavi. She says approximate rent in and around Bath in UK.
Okay. So what's running at the moment would be somewhere around 270 to 80 weekly. This is the current rate.
Weekly. Okay.
Yeah.
70 to 80 pounds per week.
270 to 280.
270 to 280 per week. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I hope that answers Vaishnavi's question. We're waiting for more questions. A couple of more minutes we have, and then okay. Manjunath poses a question. Approximate rent in and around East London.
East London again would be somewhere around 280 to 90. Like I mentioned, so when I talked to you about London, it was the entire area. So this
Okay.
is the least expensive one. So how it works is if you are opting for something very near to your university, the price
It's
tends to be
expensive,
higher.
yes.
Yes, if
Yes.
you're okay to travel, if you're okay to take public transport, then there are options of finding something cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Approximate rent in and around Birmingham.
Birmingham would be somewhere around 150 pounds weekly at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that answers Rahul's question.
yeah, yeah. 150. We have in fact one property with 145 at the moment too. But then
They
because
pay
that
they pay the rent monthly or weekly?
so again that is dependent upon the provider that you're choosing. So provider is the building owner. So if we have five different type of providers, they will have different payment terms. So there are few providers that would allow you. So there are very less providers which will allow you monthly payments. Most of the providers would help you with 4 to 5 to 6 installments of the entire tenures, amount. They'll divide it into 5 to 6 installment, and they can offer you that plan.
Okay, how much would be the rent around Cardiff University? That's the next question on the pop-up.
Cardiff would be somewhere around 169, 175, somewhere around this. This is the
Per
range.
week.
Yeah, per week. 170, 175.
Okay, so
So
that
the
answers
rent,
our
yeah. So the sorry to interrupt. So the rents are displayed as per person per week.
Yeah.
Uh, whatever you see. Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
So as I mentioned in the PPT, there are a few studio rooms that are listed by the properties. They help with the dual occupancy, as in two people can occupy the same room, and they charge certain 40 to 50 pounds extra for that dual occupant to stay. So that is also an option if
That
somebody
turns
is
out
not.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely yes.
What's the rent around Scotland? That's the next question.
It would be somewhere around again 220, 40, somewhere around that weekly.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Westminster, rent around University of Westminster.
Again, London. So average would be 250, 280, 270, somewhere around this. But then, so what happens is, like, for example, if we're telling you an average rent of 270, 280 today, because it being the lowest, least expensive one, there are very good chances of it being sold out very soon. So
Yes.
if you turn up tomorrow and you ask that you've told that this is
It could have
280,
gone, or they we'll have to look at other place, and that could turn out a
right,
little more expensive than this.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so this is what I've been telling my applicants also. Looking at last year's scenario, accommodation in UK has become a nightmare for most of the students because
Absolutely.
of huge influx of students going in. I mean, if I look at the September 2022 intake alone,
Yeah,
almost 6 lakh people have gone into the UK to study, and
right.
we faced a lot of crisis. So the students
Absolutely.
really need to decide if they want to go in for an on-campus accommodation or off campus. And if they decide to go in for off campus, they need to start looking at or booking or confirming the accommodation right now, so
Right now.
that things go easy and smooth for them. Otherwise, it's going to be really
And
difficult.
this is the ideal time because you will still have options to choose from.
Options open.
You will
Yes,
still have
yes.
a range to choose from, that if you want to go in this range or that range. There'll be times that you
So
will just be left with one property maybe near your university, two
true.
properties. Then
So
you'll
it's
be
So it's a very wise thing that if a student has decided to which university they are going, it's better that they book the accommodation right now. But of
right,
course, they can't do that if they're still not decided and they're waiting for decisions for some universities.
right,
But
right.
if someone has finalized on the university that they're going in and they're
Hmm.
just waiting for the CAS to come in, or they're waiting for the visa to be filed and they're sure that this is the university they're going in, I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and confirm the accommodation, or rather
Right,
look for options so that they don't face problems.
right.
Okay, Tejas asks a question which says around University of Nottingham, the
So
rent.
Nottingham would
Would be
be
around 180 to 190.
180 to 190 average. So also to add on to the point that you were just mentioning, so student who are like done deciding with their universities and they're just waiting for either the visa or anything, they can even book their accommodation at the moment, and these accommodation have a clause wherein they are happy to cancel your booking in case there are issues in the CAS letter or the visa. So anything that you pay at the moment to block the room would be 100% refunded back. So that's their policy. So a lot of students, come up to us and say that we don't have our visa yet, our CAS is still pending, we really can't book onto the room. But this is what we advise them, that this is the right time for booking the accommodation, because of the prices also, because of the availability also, and we also let them be aware of the fact that anything, if God forbidden goes wrong because of visa or cash, you'll be getting everything that you've paid to block the room back.
The refund is possible only in case of a visa refusal, or any other situation also it is refundable.
So once you block a room and pay a deposit, you get a cooling off period that is usually between 7 to 14 days. So in that cooling off period, you can cancel without giving any reasons, any specific reasons. But once your cooling off period is over and you're into a non-cooling off period zone, then you're supposed to have these two as major, reasons to opt out for the accommodation. Otherwise,
Okay.
also you have an option. In case you want to cancel, you can find a replacement for yourself. For example, you have a friend who's traveling, or somebody from your university. You can tell that person to occupy that room, and so the tenancy agreement, everything would be
Can be
shifted to that
changed.
person. Yeah, and that person, the original person who signed the agreement, would be free to kind of leave it.
Fantastic. Any other questions before we sign off from today's session?
Also, for Kriti, you can just let them know for the Scotland, Glasgow, we have one property which is 10 minutes away.
Yeah, yeah. So somebody asked about the rent in Scotland. So
Scotland, yeah.
yeah, so it's almost sold out. We do not have a lot of options. In fact, we don't have, we are left with one option, which is somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes away from Glasgow, all the universities there, and it is available in somewhere around
110 pounds per
10
week.
and 20 pounds per week. So that's the most economical, and in fact the only option which is available at the moment.
So at the moment, Scotland is all sold out.
Yes, almost,
Not
yes.
Scotland, just Glasgow.
Glasgow, just
Glasgow.
Just
Glasgow.
Glasgow. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Oh,
yeah.
good. Fine, Kriti. I think we had a lot of inputs from you, and I'm sure my students will get back to us with a lot of questions, and then probably will keep bothering you. And if anybody needs any help, they can always connect with Harshit, and then Harshit can coordinate with your team to see in
So,
what best possible way we can help these guys with accommodation or any plans that they have or any assistance that they need. So, with
absolutely.
that, I think we can wrap up this session. And I thank all my participants and the resource person Kriti and her colleague. It was nice catching up with you guys, and we look
Yeah,
forward for more support from you people if any of my
sure.
students are looking for any sort of accommodation in the UK.
Absolutely available all the
Okay,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
wonderful talking to you all, and interaction was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Yeah. Bye bye.